That's me, Big Dino Ravioli. And I'm sick to the teeth of yous and your backstabbing ways. We've got a lot of pigeons here. We don't need another stool pigeon, that's a you. My boys have taken your girl and have tied her to the railway tracks. She'll be minced up, put into meatballs, put on my spaghetti.
It wasn't me, boss. I ain't talked to the cops.
You better go and get her, or she'll be mincemeat before I've eaten my meal. We just can't get the staff these days with guys like you. It's not like the old country. Mamma mia. Lasci la bottiglia. And now, mangiare. Bada bing, bada boom. Salute.
When the moon hits your eye like a bigger pizza pie, that's amore, that's amore. When the stars lean to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ting-a-ting, ting-a-ting-a-ting, and we'll say,
What, you still here? Get out of here, boy!
In my quest for content, I went to the Spectrum Computing page to the Type-In section, looking for games that were interesting but had not been typed in yet. Under C&VG, Computer and Video Games, I'd found some rich treasures before, looking under the download column for download being no, of course. Games of interest in C&VG included Mike Singleton's Treachery, which I did a Bond film about. There it is, good old Mike. We'd also looked at previously Pyramids of Aaron, which was my last major video, but I'd also noticed a game called Gangster, which had not been typed in. And here's the cover. Some lovely flying car, a note about The Last Starfighter, something interesting about Lords of Midnight, but later in the magazine we do indeed get Gangster. We find out it is by no other than Richard Evans, author of Pyramids of Aaron. It's on 4 pages, some lovely line art here. You're in trouble with the mob, your girlfriend's being kidnapped, tied to a railway track, and you've got to escape, rescue her, and then call the cops before everyone gets killed. The game comes with user-defined graphics and full instructions. Let's take a look. You're the hero, and you're desperate to save your girl from the wheels of the 11 o'clock express. Your arch-enemy has kidnapped her and tied her to the railway track. You've been trapped on a deserted island. You need to escape, jump across the river by using the barrels, make your way through the thorn bushes to the road. You then need to cross the road, avoiding the cars which are full of gangsters firing Tommy guns. Then take the driveway to the house, plant the bomb, which you have hidden in your jacket, in the house. After planting the bomb, the man in the house starts shooting frantically. With your hands free, you can then untie your girl. You need to get past him and make your way to the phone. When the bomb explodes, the man will commandeer the express and try to make his way to the state line. Your job is to get to the phone before him, so ring the police so they're waiting to arrest him. Otherwise he gets away scot-free. Controls are your cursor keys 5, 6, 7 and 8. Standard really. And the game offers 9 different difficulty levels, with no indication of which is the easiest, which is the hardest. Go with number 1. Obviously that must be the easiest, it's the first one. It loads up, magenta screen, loads of green thorns, there's the road, railway track, there's the river. I'm the chap in the bottom right, the flashing white fellow. I need to cross the river, there's the barrels moving, jump from barrel to barrel, and I've missed my jump, and I've died. Them barrels just so happen to fall down waterfalls when they're at the top. Another go? Of course I say yes. And again I try and jump from barrel to barrel, but this time I jump from the barrel into the river, and I drown. Let's try again. Here we go. Jump from barrel to barrel. The barrels go down the river, jump, jump, and we're on the far side. Make our way through the bushes, that's nice and easy, and there's the road, the cars go back and forth. The car that's shooting at me there Note the yellow car is always on the top, the green car is on the bottom. Perhaps there are a row of cars there. Train's getting awfully close. Bomb is planted. Will I get there in time? No. Oh dear. Orders lost. My beautiful Goyle has been squashed. Each time I'm playing, I'm choosing a different difficulty level to see what the effect is. And we're moving down the river on our barrels. Our girl is in blue, trapped, tied to the railway tracks. And each time the bushes are generated differently. Sometimes you can't make your way through easily. Sometimes you can't make your way through at all. But here are the cars. Nice and safe. The train's getting quite close. Plant the bomb first. Pick up the girl. She just vanishes. The train goes back and forth. The guy now starts shooting with his gun from the house. I need to make my way through the bushes to the telephone on the right-hand side. Unfortunately, he shot me and Tommy gun bullets go straight through bushes. The barrels are in the same place every time you play, so you get to learn the rhythm. But you need to plan your route on the far side to make sure you can get out properly. You need to get around these bushes. This is a bit of a trickier bush arrangement. If you touch the bushes, you lose time. The train speed is affected by the level. It chuffs along merrily. You can't rescue the girl before you plant the bomb. Once you plant the bomb, there is a timer. He's shooting away. And he shoots randomly. And the train just chuffs back and forth along the tracks. And now the bomb's exploded. Train returns to pick up the man. And now the train moves at full speed to the state line. And you've got to make your way through the bushes, which is a windy track where the train runs in a straight line. And I've not made it. He's crossed the state line, which means in America, you've got away scot-free. I shall rescue the dame. Barrel to barrel across the river. Don't fall in the river, you'll drown. Don't stay on the barrel too long, you'll drown as well. Make your way through the bushes. There's the cars, green and yellow, firing their Tommy guns. Cross the road. Up the driveway. Plant the bomb on the house. Rescue the dame. Dodge the bullets. Up we go. I've chosen an easier difficulty level, I believe, because there's a lot more time with the bomb. The longer the time limit, the more space you can move. Bomb's now exploded, but I'm pretty close to the telephone now. So the train chuffs along. I've got plenty of time. And here I rig it. And here come the cops along the railway line. Stop the express. Take the man off to the Hooskow, the big house. That was great. Let's make it better.
Help!
As part of my Snorkifications, I always like to give the games a loading screen. I was going to do some live action photos and then digitise it in some way, but I really like the line art of the magazine. It was a shame it wasn't easy to see it all in one place. So I cut the bits out using GIMP, assembled it, tidied up a bit, added some speech bubbles and some smoke, and to mark it has been Snorkified, put my own little face above the engine. And here it is, really rather jolly. There's your hero trying to save the girl, tied to the railway tracks, asking for help, while the evil mustachioed man drives the locomotive towards her. The loading screen also covers up whatever loading of extra bits and bytes I can do, which is really rather handy. Once the game loads, you can see I've changed the font from the standard Sinclair font to font number 24 from Roberto Colombo's Charbank, a nice 1920s jazz age type font. I've also corrected typographical and spelling errors and tidied up a little bit. On the level select screen, I tell you which numbers are hard, which are easy. I also give the opportunity to repeat the instructions by pressing I. In the original version, you only ever got the instructions once upon first running the game. I reduced the flickering in the game with a bit of extra code. I've changed the railway line and the steam engine to be black rather than red, which is more dramatic, and changed the railway line graphics to involve the sleepers. The damsel is now in magenta because she's a girl, girls wear pink. Note the cars. As the train approaches the damsel in distress, she starts screaming for help, which is realistic. I've changed the cars so it now looks like they're doing circuits rather than an endless stream of cars. Also, the user-defined graphics have been altered from a rather modern 1980s style car to a more 1920s style multi Ford. Once you rescue her, previously nothing much happened apart from she just vanished. Here you get my hero. Then we die. I think we can add a touch of music.
Help!
What more appropriate tune for a 1920s gangster game than the Charleston, which has just become public domain. I previously wrote a little program to do beeper music, which I use for Indiana Jones game, so you type in the notes and you play the tune, and it sounds a bit like this. For each musical note and rest, I take a careful note of the duration and add all these up, and then work out with a bit of maths a duration in intervals for each note, a crotchet being 4, quaver being 2, semiquaver being 1. And then in an array, I put a number which represents the beat value, rest being 0, which is slightly dodgy, but I make a note of the duration being negative. It just about kind of works, because the Charleston doesn't have any middle C notes. And it plays a syncopated version, kind of like this. I can save this data as an array and then load that in the basic program, and then write a little bit of routine at the start of the main loop, which either plays a note or pauses, and should play the Charleston at intervals while we're playing the game. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh dear. I put the code at line 3000, the start of the main loop. The code is quite simple. There's an issue here with pause, in that if you press a key while pause is happening, the pause is cancelled. I realised that the main loop was too long for the beeps to take effect. So I moved the beeping function up to the start of the program, and then inserted calls to go sub 3 in various points in the code, in the hope that this would then magically make the beeping sound a bit less awful. That is better, but it's not good enough. And also I'm not actually playing the game, therefore not pressing the keys, therefore the pauses are going to be honoured. The timing isn't quite right, and it's recognisable as the Charleston, but I'm not happy with it. I think it's time to look at the 128K spectrum.
Help! Now the game's tied to the tracks, I just keep an eye for that low-down, no-good fink. Say! What's that hissing sound? Is that snakes? What a hero!
I never had a 48K Spectrum. I had a ZX Spectrum plus 2, as seen here. This is my replacement one. The 128K Spectrum offered not only the beat command, but in 128K mode, the play command, which was much easier to use. Rather than looking at numbers, you just typed in notes using the letters on the keyboard. And you built up a string, and these strings could play 3-channel sound. And it's quite extensively documented in the manual. You play notes at different lengths of notes in the standard musical format. You get to adjust the tempo of the song with a command at the start. You get different waveforms. Let's hear what that brings to the table. Multiple channels of sound, different waveforms. It's rather jolly, this. Can we use this? Let's look at the BASIC. That was written in BASIC. We see lots and lots of strings. And at the end of the program, a very simple command. The play command, which plays up to 3 strings. The Texas Instruments 99/4A sound command lets you play 3-channel sound, but only 1 note at a time. However, while playing the note, extra things can happen, and you can queue up notes so it won't play the next note until the first note is done. Brilliant! So does the ZX Spectrum play command work in the same way? Well, let's find out. Let's put a print statement after the play command, let's say hello world, and then do the play command, and hopefully we'll see the print appear on the screen. And we're waiting, and it only appears once you've played the entire song. What's worse, if you switch to 48K mode with the Spectrum command, we save the BASIC program. If you go to 2000 again, we get nonsense in BASIC as it doesn't recognise what play is. Towards the back of the +2 manual are 2 pages on the AY chip and how to use it. It's detailed reference information, but there's not enough of it, and it doesn't really give any useful examples. You need to know the frequencies of the notes you want to play, but it doesn't tell you what they are. The basic unit of tone is the clock frequency divided by 16, i.e. 110.83 kHz, and with a 12-bit counter range, frequencies from 27 Hz to 110 kHz can be generated. The basic clock frequency of the circuit is 1.7734 MHz to 0.01%. Good luck with that. I expressed some disappointment with this on Twitter, and Fuzzweed pointed out that all the frequencies are in fact in the ROM. The 128K ROM, that is. You can't see them in 48K mode, but they are there at address 4277, as can be seen here. What would be really handy if there was some kind of useful table explaining what the notes are, and Fuzzweed came to the rescue yet again. Thanking you. Playing middle C for 1/4 of a second is quite simple in 48K basic, beep 0.25, 0. To do the same in 128K mode, you need to write the values for middle C, the frequencies, to register 0 and 1, set the volume to maximum to register 8, and then tell register 7 that you want to play a tone on channel A, the first channel. And it'll play the tone until you tell it to stop, by telling it to stop playing a tone on channel A. Instead of writing the volume, which is 0 to 15 in register 8, you can instead write 60, which is envelope control, which means the chip will basically alter the volume according to a set of predefined methods. So I've set it here to 12, which is some kind of repeated attack, kind of like a siren. You also get to choose the length of the envelope by putting values into registers 11 and 12. That's pretty cool. Now let's tell register 7 that we want channel A to stop playing tone. And now it's just clicking. That's not great, but not terrible. To stop it clicking entirely, we need to tell the envelope to stop playing in its entirety. I can now replace my little beeper routine with a out routine, which uses the same data in the C array to make the beeps. We can make a count of how long things are, and we just about make things work. Let's see how that works in the game. is recognisable, if a little slow in the tempo, but the game itself has become too slow to play comfortably. We need to go deeper. We have two problems with our music. It makes the game too slow because we're doing it in BASIC, and the timing isn't quite right. The answer to these problems lies in machine code. Recreating our logic in machine code is fairly simple. We can use the logic here in Joe Pritchard's book. How to handle the timing, though, is a bit trickier. We have to call the routine at regular intervals, otherwise the music will sound disjointed, and knowing how long a piece of BASIC will take, especially where it involves random movement, is not easy. The answer to that lies in interrupts. By default, the ZX Spectrum checks the keyboard and updates the clock 50 times a second. You can also change this in order to call your own code, but it requires some careful coding. So it was a bit beyond me. Fortunately, Agitato the programmer wrote a really useful guide on exactly how to set it up, how to do it, and how to build up the boilerplate code around it. So I've basically copied that and bodged my code in. The first part of the code is setting up the interrupt. Our code is going to be at the interrupt address, which is a value we'll see later. We're doing some clever coding thanks to Agitato the program. We need to tell the Spectrum that we're going to be using interrupt mode 2, but that's coming later. When we do that, it looks up the value in the interrupt register and then does stuff based on that. Agitato the program is really clever here. He's going to put some code at the very highest point of RAM. It's going to jump back slightly, and that from there it's going to jump to our interrupt address. This saves us from having to have a big block of memory. It's all explained on the website. I've put some code at address 60090 to turn off the interrupts and put us back to interrupt mode 1, the normal mode. Interrupts can be called at any point of machine code processing, so it's good practice to make sure you call them in a safe manner. Agitato the program tells us what to do. We are going to save all the registers to the stack, which is what this piece of code does. Now we're into my machine code, which is not very efficient. I'm going to put what's in the address current into the accumulator. I'm going to AND it, which will set the flags appropriately. And then if it's not 0, jump to the next bit. If it is 0, we've got a new note, so we need to do something. If we've got a new note, we need to load the address of fine, which is the start of the fine parts of the note, into memory. We then load the value of the current note, how far we're into it, do some maths, move some stacks around, and then store that value at that address into one of the DE register pair. We then do the same thing for the course note, into the other part of the DE register pair. We do this because we only want to play a note if it's a note and not a rest. Previously, I was playing a rest like a note, but with a very, very low tone, and that led to annoying clicking, which we do not want. Finally, we get the length of the note and store that in the maximum, which is another variable we use. We then jump to the next bit, where we add 1 to the current duration. If it's reached the end, we add 1 to the current note. If that's reached the end, which is 169, we reset that to 0, and then we return. So a very small note if we play a note. Nice and efficient. Loading with 0 is not efficient. Here I'm loading A with 0. You can do the same thing in 1 byte and 3 cycles quicker with exclusive OR A. But it does work. And at the end, we restore all the registers in reverse order to how we saved them before returning to BASIC. My assembler doesn't support certain instructions, which is exchange between AF and AF apostrophe, and also doesn't support loading the I register. I have to poke those values in manually. My addresses for fine, coarse and note are also hard-coded, as is the actual length of the music. If you want to change those, you have to poke the machine code directly. This is not a really good idea, because if you ever reassemble the machine code and those addresses move, you're in for a world of hurt. Trust me.
You dirty rat! You blown up my house! Looks like I need to get the last train to Clarksville. Hey, you can't get on here. Don't shoot, mister.
This is the final deluxe Snorkified version. We're playing this on the emulator, the +2 emulator, 128K spectrum, but we're doing it in 48K mode. The interrupt code won't work in 128K mode. You can make it work. Elbuggy the program tells how to do that, but I've not been bothered to do that. Also because we'd have to change the UDGs because the 128K spectrum doesn't support all 21 of them. Once it loads, we get the lovely font as before, but this time we get a tune. Yes, sir, that's my baby is the tune. Was seemed appropriate and is, I believe, now in public domain, which is nice. If you load it in 48K mode, it will still run, it just won't play any music. Once the game starts, we have another tune, which is the Charleston. Once you rescue the girl, we change from the Charleston to Putting on the Ritz, which is not quite public domain, but comes public domain next year. Our girlfriend is now following behind us, and we can see her on the screen, which is nice. I don't believe she can be shot, though. Once the bomb explodes, we turn the music off. The train returns to the house making a chuffing noise where it gets hijacked and then returns at full speed heading for the state line. The chuff chuff sound is a continuous wave of attack repeat using the white noise of the 128K spectrum. And for the romantic finale, we put the music back on. Marvellous.
Choo-choo! Stop right there, partner. You off to the Hooskow! And I would have gotten away from it too, hadn't me for you meddling snorkers!